Shalom, little one. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath and let's continue with our story in Shemot Exodus. The night was still as the people of Yisrael left Mitzrayim behind. For 430 years, they had been slaves. They had labored under harsh taskmasters, their cries rising to the heavens. But tonight, they walked as free people. The streets of Mitzrayim were silent. The homes of the Mitzrites were dark, filled with mourning. The final plague had struck. Every firstborn in the land had perished. Pharaoh had finally relented. "Go," he had commanded Moshe. "Take your people and leave. Serve your Elohim as you have said." And so they went. Hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children moved as one, their belongings strapped to their backs. Fathers led their families, their staffs in hand, their faces turned toward the wilderness. Mothers carried their young ones, holding them close, whispering words of comfort. The flocks and herds moved among them, their hooves stirring the dust beneath the moonlit sky. And ahead of them, a cloud rose high above the people, a pillar of cloud by day, a pillar of fire by night, Yahweh himself leading them. They did not know where the path would take them, but they followed, they trusted, for the Most High was with them. Days passed as the people journeyed toward the wilderness. But back in Mitzrayim, a Pharaoh sat upon his throne. His grief had turned to fury. His land was in ruins. His people were broken. His own son was gone. And now the slaves had escaped. Pharaoh's eyes burned with anger. "What have we done?" he roared to his servants. "Why have we let Israel go from serving us?" His fists clenched. His pride would not allow it. "Prepare my chariot," he ordered. "Gather my armies. We will pursue them and bring them back." And so Pharaoh's army set out. Chariots rumbled over the earth, 600 of his finest leading the way. The soldiers' armor gleamed in the sun, their swords sharp, their horses swift. They rode with one purpose: to overtake Yisrael, to bring them back in chains, to crush their hope before it could take root. The people of Israel stood upon the shore of the Red Sea. Before them, the waters stretched wide, deep, vast, uncrossable. Behind them, the dust of Pharaoh's army rose into the sky. The sound of chariots thundered in the distance. The people turned and saw them coming, their hearts filled with fear. "Moshe!" they cried. "Why have you brought us out here to die? Were there not enough graves in Mitzrayim? It would have been better for us to serve the Mitzrite than to perish in the wilderness." Moshe stood before them, his face calm. "Do not be afraid," he said. "Stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. The Mitzrites you see today, you will never see again. Yahweh will fight for you. You need only be still." The wind stirred. The cloud of Yahweh moved, shifting from before them to behind them, blocking Pharaoh's army. The Mitzrites were engulfed in darkness, unable to move forward. But Israel stood in the light. Then Elohim spoke to Moshe. "Lift up your staff, stretch out your hand over the sea, and divide it, that the children of Israel may go through on dry ground." Moshe lifted his staff, and the winds began to blow. The wind howled. It rushed over the waters, pushing them back. The sea rose up, standing like two towering walls, stretching high into the sky. Between them, a path of dry ground. The people gasped. It was a miracle. Moshe turned to them. "Go," he commanded. And the people of Israel stepped forward. Step by step, they walked between the waters, their feet dry upon the seabed. Children clung to their mothers. Fathers held their sons' hands. The entire nation moved forward, crossing the sea. Behind them, the clouds still held back Pharaoh's army. But as the last of Israel stepped onto the far shore, the cloud lifted. Pharaoh saw the path before him, and he gave the order, "Go after them!" The Mitzrayites charged forward. The sound of chariots echoed between the walls of water. The horses pounded the earth. The soldiers shouted, urging them faster. The Mitzrayites rode into the sea. But something was wrong. Their wheels spun, struggling in the mud. The chariots swerved, crashing into one another. Fear spread through the ranks. "Let us flee," the soldiers shouted. "Yahweh fights for Israel." But it was too late. Moshe turned back toward the waters. He raised his staff once more, and Elohim said, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, that the waters may return upon Pharaoh and his army." Moshe stretched out his hand, and the walls of water collapsed. The sea rushed back into place, crashing down with mighty force. The chariots were swallowed. The horses disappeared beneath the waves. The mighty warriors of Mitzrayim were no more. Not one remained. The people of Yisrael stood upon the shore, watching the sea grow still once more. The enemy that had pursued them was gone. A great silence fell over them. Then a single voice rose in praise. Then another and another, and soon the people sang aloud, their voices lifting to the heavens. Miriam, the sister of Moshe, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women followed her, dancing and rejoicing. "Sing to Yahuwah," they cried, "for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea." The Most High had delivered them, and they would never be slaves again. Israel had crossed over into freedom, and their journey to the Promised Land had only just begun. Until next time, Laila Tov, little one, Shalom.